You hear me, son? Yes, sir, I hear you. I hear you, sir. So one by one, the great cars that we were driving were either breaking down or something else just blowing up. God said, I'm about to fix everything that's broken in your life. I said, well, what's broke, God? He said, you. Oh, I knew I was broke. Brothers, how broke was I? I was so, y'all laughing now, see, it wasn't so funny then. See, because I can tell the story, it's funny now, it wasn't funny then. Somebody say it's funny to me. So I remember I was so broke, brothers, that one day I just wanted to get the basic fundamentals of a father taking care of his family. A loaf of bread, gallon of milk, you know, some lunch meat, you know. And so I proceeded to walk around the room of the house. Can I tell the story, brothers? You want me to keep it real? So I found a bunch of coins. I ain't lying. I just found coins in every place I could find them. Until I felt like there were no more coins to find in the house. So I immediately run to the bank. You know how they have those coin collectors that count all your change? I had a sock. I mean, it was like big as my head, right? And it was filled with coins. I felt it was like at least $30 worth. And I took those coins, I dumped them into the coin counter at the bank, and the coins started to click, and the more it clicked, the higher the amount got, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. And so it got up to about $35, $45. I said, loaf of bread, I can get some cheese now. Y'all want me to continue, we're going to go back to Nehemiah. Stay here. So I got there and I said, it was about $45. I took it up to the bank counter. Yes, Mr. Dudley, good to see you today. So I just want to redeem, you know, if you remember that bank, you know, you can redeem it and they'll give you back the money. And so I gave them the ticket and I was just waiting patiently, right? And then she said, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dudley. I was waiting for my money. She said, well, here's your receipt, Mr. Dudley. Got the receipt. It was still negative 10. Still negative 10. And so, fast forward 6 months, still sending out more resumes. Why am I telling this story? Somebody wanted to hear this. God. Can I stay on this story? Can you stay on this story? All right. So, my wife got me here. Took me a long time to get here. She was already there. And I came to a point where, okay, God, I surrender. And the more I surrendered, the softer the soil became. My favorite line at that time is, what you have doesn't meet your need, turn it into a seed. Because I didn't have no money, brothers, I'm not lying. I remember I was in a service, I had 3 saxophones. I used to play the saxophone back in the day. And I had 3 saxophones, and the church was about to take an offering, and I had no money to give. And the Lord said, don't you have something at the house? I said, yeah, I got those 3 saxophones. He said, stand up in the church and say that any kid going back to school in the fall, if they need a saxophone, they can have either an alto, soprano, or a tenor saxophone. I gave away 3 almost brand new saxophones. As I said, the soil got softer. I said, well, God, what you doing? He said, well, number 1, your job of rebuilding your life is bigger than rebuilding this wall. I want to make sure that when I do whatever I do next, there's no pride. Because prior to that, I had a series of successes that, you know, every now and then you said, I'm pretty good. Have you ever been there? I mean, you get on the road, you feel like you're in a zone like Michael Jordan. The basket is so big, you can't miss nothing. The only shot that I ever missed was the one I didn't take. Come on, somebody talk to me. Well, everything we shot, 3-point. Everything we touched turned to gold. But God says, I'm shifting you. And all of a sudden, I just had this overwhelming thought about the marketplace. So I remember as God was fast forwarding this story, I had a few good job offers. And one said, we hire you. I said, thank God, decent income. The day before I was to start, they gave me a call. And they said, Mr. Dudley, I know you received your letter. What do they call those letters? The letter of offer, and it gives you the salary and all of this. You know what I'm talking to. They gave me that letter, and they said they called me one day before I was ready to start, and they said, sir, we're just sorry to inform you we changed our mind. We're going in a different direction. Wait a minute. That happened about 2, maybe 3 times. And I'll never forget my breaking point, brothers. I was cutting the grass on a hot day, and I was talking to God at the top of my lungs, and I knew nobody could hear me because of the lawnmower. Y'all follow me? And I was cutting that grass, and I'll never forget, God! The only image I can think of was that movie of the 10 Commandments when Moses is in the wilderness and he finally falls to his face in total collapse. Y'all, do you remember that image? And he falls by the camp of the Midianites, I think, in the Midian daughters, and he finally finds a well. Something to that effect. That's where I was, brothers. I was crushed. I had no power to be me. Y'all can't quite get that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? When you have no more power to be you. But it was a place of freedom. And I didn't know what that freedom felt like because I never came to that point before. Every man lives a life at different levels. And every level happens at a different season. And every season when you get to another level comes a new level of responsibility. And I had never assumed a level in the spirit where I was so high but yet so low and felt so free. It was so that period of time I was trying to help somebody else get a job. I was trying to help somebody else get a job, and I couldn't even find a job myself. So broken, so surrendered that all I could do was just help somebody else. And I discovered then that if you can get your eyes off of yourself and find out that there's somebody else who's hurting more than you, while you trying to fix what's broke in their life, God will sneak up behind you and do a surprise attack. Amen. I'll never forget. The same guy who I was trying to help get a job said, you know what? There's a lady that I've been trying to introduce to you for 2 years. He said, but I can never get y'all together. I said, well, if you ever meet her and ever see her, tell her I'll be happy to meet her. Right? I was at church and had left. Service was over, got in the car, headed on 275 going back to Canton. I get a call. He said, hey, brother, you remember that lady I told you that I want to introduce you to? I said, yeah. He says, well, she's still here at church. We're just lingering at the altar. I don't know if I ever talked to you about learning to linger after the service is over. Yeah. So I turned around, went back, and the lady said, oh yeah, I've been hearing a lot about you. It's nice to meet you. Are you available for coffee next Monday? Well, I had no job at the time, so I'm available for anything, right?
Let me check my schedule.
Said, come on in, met me at a McDonald's. You know the story. Have a cup of coffee. Hey, by the way, would you be interested in taking a test? It's a test word again. Would you be interested in taking a test? What kind of test? A test for management. I'm not good at math. And this is going to be a surprise test too? Good God! I don't even have my cheat sheet, right? I'm not answering on my hand, whatever. She said, well, I've just invited one of our HR personnel to come in and they'll be here in about 5 minutes. You can take the test. I said, God, I can't leave. I mean, most times you don't just show up, but I'm sitting right at the freaking table. I'm sitting at the table. Already said yes. The HR person is getting ready to walk up in the room with a test. I feel like I'm stuck on stupid. Y'all ever felt like just stuck on stupid? I'm getting ready to take a test I haven't even studied for. And suddenly I just heard the voice said, just be still, son. I got this. I got this. Took the test. It seemed like it just, I sat down, it was over. Then I had to wait a week to see what the results were going to be. How many have ever been there before? So they finally called me and said, Mr. Dudley, we'd like to offer you a position. I said, well, what is it? They said to be on an accelerated management development level for McDonald's. I said, well, how am I going to go home and tell my family that I got a job at freaking McDonald's? I better go ahead and tell the truth and shame the devil, right? I got a job at McDonald's. That's what happened. I went home, told my wife, told my kids, Dad's got a job. And I told him it was McDonald's. He said, Dad, McDonald's? Couldn't it have been Red Lobster? And I said, you know what, that does sound a whole lot better. Well, long story short, I accepted the job. The first assignment I had was, I was on French fries. I said, we know you're on an executive fast track. We want to promote you, bring you up to the corporate level. But your first assignment is fries. But can I tell the story? Can I finish the story? I see the 5 minute sign. And so now y'all gonna make me tell a whole story. So I was at this real upscale McDonald's on fries. 2 years ago I was with the Milwaukee Bucks. A year before that I was sweeping the gym floor. But now I've graduated and I'm on fries. And then when they relieve me on fries, I get a mop and a bucket McDonald's where there was some clergy who would come every now and then. Shoot. Lord knows, my first couple of days, the clergy would show up. You know how clergy would always show up. What's up, Doc?
Yeah.
I see him coming. Lord is my witness. I go back and say, y'all need something from the refrigerator? Can somebody relieve me on fire? And then all of a sudden, after about a month of that, God said, I'm going to still work on that last bit of pride. I'm going to put you on the front counter. You graduated from Fries. You demonstrated you know how to handle a mop. But can you take an order on the front counter? During the peak period when everybody in town is coming up. And I have to say, welcome to McDonald's. How may I serve you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No place to run, no place to hide. Just serve it.
Yes, sir.
Y'all hear me tonight?
Oh.
And so, one of the slogans that I developed out of that season, brothers, concerning those of you who want to be promotable, I walk into every place now and I say, there's always room at the top, as long as you can handle a mop. Since that time, of course, you probably heard about the story about the car. Because I remember we were like a 3-car fancy car family, and we was down to a hoopty level. And I said, I accept the job, but one problem. I need a car. They said, well, we only give cars to those who have been here a year or more, and they're at the senior level. And clearly, you're at the junior league level. And you've only been here for week 2, and you're asking for a car. I accept the position with honor. Thank you for the opportunity with gladness. But at the end of the day, sir, I want to be a man of responsibility. I want to be here on time. I want to get home on time. But I need a car. They said, well, I'm sorry, there's no one in the state of Michigan can authorize you to get a car. They said, however, there is a man coming from Chicago in about 2 months, and we would be happy to let you sit before him, explain who you are, and make him the final decision maker. I said, game on. I'm up for that. If he says yes, yes, fine. He said no, I'll move on. Came in, one of the highest ranking officials in McDonald's. He came in and met me, and the next thing I know, he said, well, tell me about yourself. Brother, by that time, I was so broken. I couldn't think of anything about me.